For my behavior change project, I focused on using a token system to reduce flopping behavior. For my project, I used a single subject, AB reversal design. Baseline data was collected for 5 consecutive days. It was then collected for 8 days as treatment. We went back to baseline data for 5 more days and then followed by 5 additional sessions of treatment. The subject for my project was a 6-year-old boy diagnosed with autism by his physician. He attends a center 8 hours a day for 40 hours a week, receiving one-on-one therapy. He engages in flopping behavior. Flopping will be defined as any instance in which the client sits on the floor and/or lies down without permission to do so and refuses to get up after being asked 2 times. An example: the therapist asks the client to wash his hands and he sits on the floor refusing to get up after being asked twice. A non-example: the client sits down on the floor and immediately gets up after being asked, or the client demands to sit on the floor and he has permission. Baseline was collected in both morning and afternoon sessions, which counted for 6 hours each weekday. This data was recorded for 5 consecutive days. During these 5 days of data, the client followed his typical routine and schedule with no intervention. This was so the baseline data could be as accurate as possible before implementing any intervention plan. Frequency data was taken during this time using a tally system. At the end of each weekday, the tallies were combined to give the overall number of total flopping behaviors for the 5 consecutive days. During the intervention phase, a token economy system was put into place. The client was introduced to the board and tokens, and paired with the token board before implementing the entire protocol. When the client is asked to complete tasks, he can obtain tokens for good work or completing his task. Once he gets 5 tokens, he can cash them in for his preferred item of choice. However, if the client engages in the flopping behavior, he will not be able to earn a token. He will not be able to earn another token until he is up and working for at least 1 minute. After that minute of being up and working, he was again able to receive tokens to use to gain access for reinforcement. During this phase of the intervention, frequency data was taken again, exactly the same way it was during the baseline phase. There was still 1 tally for every instance. At the end of the day, the tallies were added together, and they come up with the overall total of flopping behavior for the 8 consecutive days of intervention. The results showed that the use of a token economy system as an intervention was effective in decreasing the maladaptive behavior of flopping. The graph shows that there was a decrease from the baseline data to the intervention data. During the baseline, his flopping behaviors occurred on average of 9.8 times per day, with a range of 6 to 14 instances. During the intervention phase, the client's flopping behaviors occurred on an average of 3.1 times per day, with a range of 0 to 7 instances. When completing the reversal and we went back to the baseline phase, the flopping behaviors occurred on an average of 9.8 times per day with a range of 9 to 13 instances. Once re-implementing the token economy, the average number of flopping behaviors was 3.6 times per day with a range of 1 to 6 instances. The results in the graph show that the token economy was effective in decreasing the total number of instances that the client engaged in the maladaptive behavior of flopping. The graph also shows that the longer the client was working with the token board, the fewer instances of flopping occurred. This shows that using token economy for longer periods of time has the potential to decrease the incidence of flopping behavior even further and maybe even eliminating this maladaptive behavior altogether.